This is the first one that was tweeted last night at, a little 20 after 5 Eastern time. And, he says, my whole life I've been preparing for the future, anticipating it, creating it. I've never been safer, and I'm excited for the future. The Honorable Justice in the SEC versus me should have her ruling out soon. Donald Trump will be in office soon. PulseX, Pulse Chain Hex, Incentive are all functioning wonderfully. This makes some entities mad, but there's literally nothing they can do about it except be mad. It feels great to be wanted. Nothing can stop an idea whose time has come.
Yeah. Yeah. And like he just said, and like somebody alluded to in the chat, if you're not doing this and having this big of an impact, are they even coming after you? So it feels good to be wanted. And what he just said and alluded to again about the SEC and how close that judgment may be, we've speculated about that. We're past what you would imagine is the halfway point until Carol. It is, yeah, Auntie Carol, I guess, yeah. Until she her ruling. I mean, if you assume a 90-day window, we're past halfway of that. And that's an angle we were, of course, going to look at this at. Has the SEC already heard through the grapevine, and I'm sure their attorneys and the people involved with them maybe even have more access to what the judge could be thinking and what's coming down quicker than Richard's attorneys would, just because they're not working directly within the government. Are they getting it floated to them? Look, we just had happen last week. We talked a whole bunch about all these hex people being subpoenaed again. We just had four and the like getting subpoenaed again and stuff like that. Now this comes out tomorrow, literally Monday, December 23rd. Are we going to get news that at least partial of this case is dismissed? Maybe some is, but either way, not great news for the SEC. And that's why we're seeing this stuff happen now, or maybe quickly after the new year, and they're just stressed about it and trying to throw shit at the wall to see what sticks,
Right. This is a good comment here from Beyond All. It says these allegations have fingerprints of the U.S. way of blackmailing someone. This is definitely the act of the losing SEC and the failing Biden administration trying to throw anything that can stick.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it better myself. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's what we're seeing here. It's unfortunate that these things happen and then you see this big sell-off and everything. I mean, you and I were talking earlier, I mean, Pulse, for all intents and purposes, I mean, on the wick quickly yesterday, and who knows, it could even do it again. We've seen these things happen before, but if you would look at the weekly chart, which I'm not saying to pull that up yet, we can get to that in a minute, but basically like touched the lows again, practically. I mean, on a wick yesterday. But it's good to see this from Richard. And is this the next one? Is this a different one?
Yeah, this is the one from last night.
Go ahead.
About 3 hours later.
Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I'll read through it. It says, if the haters really wanted to get me down, they could raise more than the 27 million I did for medical research. Write free self-help books better than my sci-vibe and fix the world. Work in the courts for legal precedent for P2P publishing software, found things that work flawlessly and become valuable. Install bidets for their mothers. That's kind of funny. Nothing makes the haters angrier than success. Every time they think of you, it reminds them of how they're not doing half of what they could. They let themselves down. They let their families down. It's easier for them to tear down others than to rise up themselves. Hate is a poor substitute for progress. Why settle for being wanted when you can be the most wanted? Then he goes on to say, I really do the best I can to make the world a better place. He's been saying that forever. And I must say the world can be pretty unkind to folks making a difference. First, they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. Win is in my name and winning is in my blood. Think about how much we've accomplished. And it seems like someone up above must want it to happen. There's too much serial success for it to be an accident.
Well said. Cool. When you see something like that, I mean, what more do you want out of a leader? And for all these people like, well, he's running away, he's on the run. I mean, I understand the guy hasn't been on video and he's been careful with his words, actually not even always careful, but through this whole thing, including the stream last Christmas, whenever the lawsuit had already been filed by the SEC. I don't know what else more you could ask for when there's these kind of attacks happening, comments like that. And I sorry if I messed up which tweet is which, but whenever he indicates like, "Hey, I'm safer," I thought it sounded very Trumpish, like I'm safer than I've ever been, or something like that. What do you think? Because I saw somebody tweet this, and I think they're probably right. When he said that, like, what did you take that to mean? Like, obviously not that he's in physical danger, but I saw that somebody said this says to me that he's not under like European jurisdiction, and in other words, don't take this shit seriously. It's just a headline.
Right. Well, it means a couple things to me. When he says he's safe, it means, well, to me, I think he's planned ahead. I think he's probably planned ahead for all of this. I'm sure, you know, he's talked to lawyers. Uh, I'm sure he's planned out, so the evasion thing is what I believe all in retrospect of the sacrifice addresses, right? All the money that was collected in the sacrifice addresses is the only thing that I can think of that would warrant any kind of hundreds of millions of dollars of taxes. It's the only thing that's that public or whatever. And this is something we talked about on a show not that long ago when we were talking about the post in that the website where it was talking about trusts, bulletproof trusts, and things like that. My guess is that the sacrifice wallets are in a trust in the Cayman Islands or wherever. So again, it does go back, and I said this a little bit earlier, goes to jurisdiction. So yeah, that's one of the things I thought. I also thought, well, maybe he's in a country that they can't extradite for, or that they don't know where he's at, whatever. That goes to, well, he's on the run. And that can't be good because guilty people are usually the ones on the run. So there is that. But maybe he's letting it play out. Maybe his lawyers have told him to just, don't come forward. Why would you do something stupid like that? We're taking care of this. And in the meantime, stay put. Don't do anything stupid. You know what I mean? So again, I'm sure it goes back to when I hear he's safe. It means he's not in any danger right now. He's probably looked way ahead, planned for this, and as far as that goes, it'll take someone to say, well, first of all, you don't have jurisdiction over this. It's not under Richard's name. It's in a trust. That is in a completely different country, not yours, and you have no right to it. So that's that. I mean, and I think it's as simple as that because even Judge Carroll, where does the blockchain live? Well,
Yeah.
you can't prove it, right? Whether he has access to it or not, if it's located in a trust that is registered in another country or somewhere else, there's really not much they can do about it. So there's been no proof of him spending any of it. So it's not like he's blowing the money on stuff to say, well, yeah, but you do have access because you've spent it, right? You've done this with it. You bought cars and jewelry and things like that with it. That's not the case. So
Right.
I don't know. That's the first thing that came to mind when he said, I'm safe. Was that there's really not a concern of his where even if they do pick him up, if he has to spend the night or two in a pokey, well, they did the same thing with Andrew Tate. He made his location very well known. Everybody knew where the Tates lived. I mean, that was no secret. So they just drove by and knocked on the door. Nobody's even, they still never served him. So, he may not even be in, what was it, Finland is where they claimed that he was. It's possible that he had an address there, but maybe that's not where he lives. So, there's a lot of things that go into play here. And
sorry,
yeah, go ahead.
No,
you're good.
That's the other thing too about people that are so panicked about, oh, what's going to happen to him? What's going to happen to him down the road? What if they pick him up? Like, that's the whole reason. Now, I understand that Richard has criticized Satoshi for like running away or never being known and stuff like that. But that's also why Richard.
That's why he did it. That's why Satoshi did it.
Yeah. And that's
Go
why
ahead.
funny comment yesterday that we talked about was somebody saying like, oh, now I know why Satoshi was anonymous, because this is what happened. They could, who knows where they'll stop with the guy. But but that's also why Richard isn't necessarily needed. I mean, he isn't. These things operate otherwise. That's the thing. Hex is the contract. It's the contract. It's on the blockchain. That's what it does. PulseX has the buy and burn. It's built in there. It is what it is. There's an existing blockchain. It's already been delivered.